After entering the infinite game, because of my emotional deficiency disorder, I kept a completely expressionless face the entire time. Seeing the horrifying, stinking, rotting sea monster, I scooped it up in a princess carry and threw it back into the ocean. Ugly fish, stay away, don't get caught again. On the third day, the merman returned, crawling back like a cocoon. Blushing, he picked a pearl from his tail and went all out declaring his love for me. You're the only one who didn't show disgust at me. I like you, be my mate. Danmaku, Merman King boss. Wake up, he's got a poker face. 1. Player has entered the Glassy Bay dungeon. Objective, survive and complete the main quest. Ding, dungeon is loading. Chaos surrounded me, screams and shouts from men, women, and children filled the air. I stood in the preparation hall with no expression at all. If I weren't someone with emotional deficiency, I might have felt like cursing. A girl cried, "Where are we? Were we kidnapped?" A burly man looked around, then grabbed me aggressively. "Why are you so calm? Was it you who brought us to this damn place?" A mechanical, emotionless voice rang out at the right moment. "You are all dead in the real world. Survive in the game until the end, and you will be granted a second chance at life. Otherwise, you will be completely erased." The hall fell into deathly silence. I asked lightly, "What if I don't want this chance?" "You may play passively and experience a tragic death on your own." The words carried an implicit warning. I said, "What's so scary about death? If I were afraid, I wouldn't have chosen to end myself before." At that moment, a few red Danmaku floated past my eyes. "Who's this wannabe? Looks like a club model. Once he enters the game, he'll be crying. Not afraid of death. G used to be just like him. Ended up crying and dying in this dungeon. Whoa, is his loading scene the fishing competition? No need to watch, death is guaranteed. Let's go." 2. The dungeon loaded quickly. Glassy Bay, a small town corrupted by the ocean. All 20,000 residents contaminated. Players must activate the main quest and complete objectives before the pollution reaches 100%. My role, an investor sent to inspect. Danmaku. Gloating. The fishing competition always spawns the boss. This newbie won't survive. Look for the big boss or the small boss. If it's the Merman King, forget it. Just seeing him will increase pollution instantly. The air reeked of a nauseating stench. I looked around and saw a crowd of fishermen gathered by the shore, arguing fiercely about something. That thing polluted the sea and gave us all the disease. Burn it. Turn that ugly monster to ashes. I pushed through the crowd. By the massive bonfire lay a heavily wounded merman. I tried to get closer, but a kind NPC woman pulled me back. "Step back, young man. Sea monsters are evil. Get too close, and you'll be contaminated." "Me, really?" She nodded. "You're not from here, right? Well, I should warn you, a merman." Before she finished, I had already sprinted forward, hoisted the merman, and ran. 3. Danmaku exploded instantly. Some cursed me for being stupid, others for courting death. They weren't wrong, I was literally courting death. Although I was only 26, I'd already lived long enough. After running for over 10 minutes with the NPCs in pursuit, I finally managed to stop. I studied the merman carefully. At first glance, he looked like the monster the fisherman described. A rotting, stinking body, scales missing, internal tissue exposed with mottled spots. A sinister aura radiated from every inch of him, yet his features were strangely exquisite. Silver white hair, closed eyes, almost divine in appearance. I hovered over him. "Fish, come pollute me. You hear me? Fish, fish, if you're a boss, come strike me." No reaction. I lay down instead, holding the merman tightly, hoping to gain some pollution points. As I held him, the area around his ears gradually warmed red. 4. Oh my, this is the Merman King, the highest level dungeon boss. Players in the past who just glanced at him saw their pollution jump 90% and nearly explode. It took a dozen mental cleansing potions to recover. Asterisk, this newbie's about to die. Asterisk, the text cluttered my view, so I closed Danmaku. Then I noticed the merman opened his eyes. They were eerie, gray-white pupils, lifeless, looking straight at you. It felt like he could suck you in the next second. I stared at him for 3 seconds, then pressed his head into my chest, holding him close. The merman twitched his tail. I pressed it down with my foot. He moved his fingers. I entwined my fingers with his. After a while, the system notified, "Player Morgan, pollution increased by 1%. 5. Only that little increase? Could this really be just a minor monster?" I felt no attachment and got up to leave. After a few steps, I paused and looked back. I carried the merman to the rocks again. "Ugly fish, Stay away, don't get caught again. I tossed him back into the sea. The black water was thick and dead, like some viscous oil, reeking horribly. At first, the merman floated on the surface, then slowly sank. His gray-white eyes stayed locked on me, as if trying to remember something. Congratulations, player, you survived the initial story point. Your compassion and great love are touching. You are worthy of the title Angel. Personal skill unlocked, Angel's Wings. Me, what's that good for? System, using the skill, the player can grow a pair of pure white, beautiful wings. Oh, I said, such a useful skill. Out of my sight. Danmaku was in shock. This has to be a game bug. How could his pollution only rise by 1%? Everyone knows pollution spreads via mental fear. That means this person has zero emotional fluctuation and is extremely difficult to contaminate. I don't buy it. He must have used some special item. Let's keep watching. 6. I went to the town square to meet up with other players. Almost half of the 100 players from the preparation hall were gone. Those remaining looked terrified, still shaking from earlier events. I noticed their skin was swollen and gave off a strong fishy smell, signs of early contamination. Welcome to Glassy Town. I'm the mayor's daughter, Diana, said a pretty girl in the center of the square, holding a bunch of keys. You've traveled far, so I apologize for any inconvenience. Here are some lodgings, some safe, some a bit remote. Please choose freely. The moment she finished speaking, everyone surged forward, scrambling desperately for the keys. I didn't bother competing. I stood in place and slowly lit a cigarette. Eventually, I walked forward and picked up a rusty key that no one wanted. Diana looked concerned. Sir, this cabin is a bit remote. Please take care. Her eyes were ocean blue, matching the gemstone necklace around her neck. Thanks, I said casually. Your necklace is very pretty. She paused, then gave me a small, awkward smile. I turned to leave. By the way, sir, Diana called after me. Please sleep early tonight. Whatever you hear, do not go outside. I noted her advice seriously, then decided I wouldn't sleep at all. 7. The cabin was a rundown, seaside shack. For the first 2 nights, I stayed up smoking, listening to the waves crash against the rocks. Nothing else happened. On the 3rd night, I went to bed early, only to wake at 2 a.m. I heard singing coming from the shore. Damn, he's about to get enchanted. A female player just left the neighboring stream. She heard the song, went into the sea, and got, well, you know, by countless mermen. Breeding season sea monsters are terrifying. Let's see how our streamer keeps calm now. I opened the door. In the moonlight, the sea was a scene of merman mating, a chaotic frenzy. I quickly spotted the source of the singing, perched on the rocks. The merman's silver-white hair fluttered in the sea breeze. His pale pupils were fixed on me, lips moving. The song was low and haunting, like celestial music lingering in my ears. I thought I heard him whisper, "Come, come," so I walked to him. "What is it?" He smiled faintly. Come into the sea." I continued forward. Just before my shoes touched the water, I heard him say, "Come, kiss me." I stepped back quickly. Looking up, I saw his face flushed slightly. The scales under his belly fin parted slightly. Looking at this shameless merman, I said flatly, "You naughty fish." 8. Wait, a second ago I thought he'd been enchanted. Did he just insult the Merman King? Did I hear that right? Doesn't anyone else think the streamer's expressionless face is kind of S? Morgan, master of masters. I turned and went back into the cabin. The merman seemed a little restless and began singing again. I didn't understand why he sang, maybe just for atmosphere. Not gonna lie, it worked. I had the best sleep I'd had in 10 years. 9. The next day, someone knocked on the cabin door. "Sir, are you enjoying your stay in Glassy Town?" I looked outside to see Diana. "It's fine." "That's great," she said, smiling. "This afternoon at 1 p.m., I'd like to sincerely invite you to visit our canned seafood factory. Please arrive on time." Main quest updated. After lying in the shabby cabin for several days, I was admittedly a little bored. I decided to go check it out. At the factory, even fewer players were present than last time. Their skin was more swollen, as if they'd been soaking in water. Some even had strange fish scales growing on their arms. "This is our town's main industry, deep-sea canned fish," Diana said, guiding us along the production line. "Our canned fish used to sell well, but after the ocean's mutation, production has been affected." "Specifically?" I asked. She sighed. "The sea's pollution is too high. Every fisherman going out is contaminated. We had no choice but to change our fishing methods." Later, she led us to the fishing site. An explosion sounded. Black waves surged in the distance. and the acrid smell of gunpowder filled the air. "Blast fishing," she said calmly. Countless fish carcasses floated to the surface. Though it sacrifices freshness, the taste remains unchanged, only the cost increases slightly. She nodded. "But the resources Glassy Bay provides go beyond food. I'll show you more another day." After touring the factory, I returned to the cabin thoughtfully. I happened to see an unlucky fish, burnt and charred, lying on the shore. 10. This pitiful, tattered male merman. I didn't know his name, yet it was already the third time we'd met. I approached expressionless. I poked his body. "Fish, wake up." He kept his eyes closed. No response. I thought for a moment, then carried him into the cabin and laid him on the floor. Leaning against the bed, I lit a cigarette out of boredom. About 20 minutes passed, when I finally noticed, his cold tail had curled around my ankle. "Let go." I lowered my eyes. The merman lay on the floor, corners of his lips curling, delicate lips, faintly revealing sharp teeth. "You saved me, again." A hoarse, yet alluring voice came from him. He slowly propped himself up, his slick tail curling skillfully around my calves. "Last night, I wanted to mate with you, to make you die in the sea, but now I don't want to." His gaze burned. He teased me darkly with his tail. "You're the only human who hasn't shown disgust or fear toward me. I like you. Be my mate." System, Player Morgan. Pollution value increased to 2%. 11. Surprisingly, in such a short time, the wounds on the merman's body had begun to heal. I glanced at him. Calmly, I raised my hand, letting the ash from my cigarette fall onto his tail. He grunted, quickly retracting his beautiful tail fins and hugged himself protectively. "Since you're fine, go back to the sea before the townsfolk notice you." I nodded toward the door. "Go back into the water yourself." Perhaps from the slight sting, his gaze held a trace of grievance. He watched me quietly for a moment. Then, he suddenly chuckled and flicked his tongue over his sharp teeth. "You care about me." Not wanting to waste words, I lifted him up and headed for the sea. The merman wrapped his tail around me along the way. He tried to lick my neck mid-walk, but I dodged coldly. I tossed him back into the sea. He swam a circle, then looked back at me. "My name is Marvin. I am the king of this sea. When we meet again, I will bring a betrothal gift, and then mate with you." 12. Other players busied themselves searching for main quest clues. I had nothing to do. I found a few salted fish in the cabin and started cooking to pass the time. The fish were hard. I spent a long time cutting them. I didn't notice when night fell. A thick, black viscous liquid seeped in from outside the door, creeping toward my feet. Forget the love-struck Merman King for now. A pure attack-type monster has arrived. Let's see how he handles this. GG, this one is a pure psycho, extremely hostile to humans. Catch him, and he'll kill you. Suddenly, massive tentacles smashed through the door. My feet left the ground. I was grabbed and pulled outside, my back smashing through the wooden door. In front of me was a 6-meter-wide giant octopus, its body covered in fleshy lumps, head filled with compound eyes, its bloodshot, crazed gaze fixed on me. The next second, it opened its mouth, aiming to crush my head. I felt satisfied. I didn't struggle. When its teeth were 20 centimeters from me, I swiped at a rusted hook embedded in its flesh and flicked it off. The octopus froze. It lingered on the sensation for a moment, then tentatively reached another arm toward me. There was another rusty hook. I casually flicked it off. The 2 tentacles rubbed together excitedly. The octopus's pupils dilated. It put me down and plopped onto the sand. At first, I didn't understand what it wanted. Then I noticed the still oozing crimson wounds on its body. They were cut by abandoned fishing lines from the sea. I stared expressionless for a moment, then spat 2 words, "Poor thing." 13. I held my knife, carefully cutting the fishing line embedded in its flesh, bit by bit. Soon, a bloodied, flesh-streaked nylon line lay on the sand. Done. The octopus didn't even look at me. It ran around the beach in pure joy, swinging its dozen tentacles. It even tore off some lumps of flesh and tossed them, looking not very smart. Woohoo woohoo hoo. I tried to get it to remember the task at hand. I walked in front of it and slashed it lightly with the knife. "Here, keep eating me." The octopus used the knife cut as a pivot to sever a tentacle and tossed it to me. Then it ran off in a frenzy. Congratulations, player survived the mad octopus attack. Ding! Personal weapon successfully activated. A seemingly ordinary blunt knife, yet it contains unfathomable power. Will you use it for killing or for saving? Ding! Personal skill upgraded. Once again, you have demonstrated your unique compassion and great love. The title, Holy Father, is yours. From now on, you may share your beautiful white wings with others. Oh, Such a useful upgrade. I wiped the knife, ignored the silly octopus, and returned to the cabin. Unexpectedly, it came back the next day. While I cooked, half its massive body squeezed behind me, half outside the door. Its tentacles eagerly handed me cooking tools. I casually cut off a piece of a tentacle and threw it into the pot. It shook it off, seemingly unconcerned, and the tentacle quickly grew back. So, none of the previous players realized this creature went crazy because the lines cut into it so painfully. Damn, it got to him again. I finished cooking seafood soup. The octopus suddenly froze, sensing danger, and scrambled away in panic. I sensed something and went outside, seeing Marvin. 14. This is the most beautiful pearl in the sea. Marvin raised his hand, revealing a silver blue pearl in his palm. Do you like it? I didn't answer. He pulled out a dozen more pearls. And these, do you like them? I remained silent. Marvin frowned slightly. After thinking, he said seriously, if you're not satisfied, when I retrieve the heart of the ocean, I'll bring you all the treasures from the seabed. Me, what's the heart of the ocean? Marvin tilted his head toward me, his lower body submerged in the Black Sea. It's the heart of Lioli Bay. I went silent again. Marvin swam closer, gaze fixed on me. As his white lashes fluttered, they shimmered like butterflies. Will you be my mate? I crouched down, lifted his chin. Look clearly, I'm a man. Marvin said, in our merman clan, we don't choose mates based on gender. If that bothers you, he gave a meaningful smile, I can be the female one for you. I gently tapped his cheek. Want to stay by my side? Marvin's eyes brightened. Yes. I lifted him from the water. First thing, take a bath. 15. Pollution willingly offered doesn't go to waste. At night, I held him while sleeping, at least it would raise a few points. But Mud Bay was filthy, soaking him in grime. I poured a bucket of water over Marvin's head. He closed his eyes in enjoyment, tail slapping the floor happily. You need to be clean if you want to stay, I told him. Then I crouched to scrub him. After a while, Marvin let out a muffled moan. His cheeks flushed red. His gaze glued to me. I looked down. This spicy fish was starting to misbehave. Put it away, I ordered. He reluctantly retracted. After a while, I repeated, put it away. Marvin again reluctantly complied. This repeated 4 or 5 times. I understood. He was a slightly unruly fish. I stood, stepped down on him. Ugh! Marvin thrashed his tail in pain. Move it off. I towered over him, continuing to press. Only when the merman cried from the pain did I stop the punishment. Dare again? Marvin's eyes reddened. He curled his tail in the corner, turning his back to me. Mermen go into heat during breeding season. I haven't found a mate. I've held back for a long time, he said plaintively. I ignored him, moving forward to continue scrubbing his back. Marvin only fussed for a moment, then relaxed, lying comfortably while bubbles played around him. Fin tips obediently wrapped around my wrist. I took the chance to inspect him. Good. He was well behaved now, covered in scales, only the edges slightly red and swollen. After the fuss, I lifted Marvin onto the bed. He got excited again, ruffling the sheets. Human, mate. 16. Human, don't mate. I held him in my arms, restraining his restless body. Marvin twisted and writhed, hissing urgently, let me go. No. I pinned him so he couldn't move. Marvin thrashed his tail, making loud slapping sounds. Eventually, exhausted from struggling, he found a comfortable spot in my arms and furrowed his brows to sleep. Until midnight. Streamer, wake up. The boss is going dark. First time seeing him sleep so soundly in-game. If he gets eaten now, it's over. Half awake, I was woken by Marvin's muttering. He trembled violently, emanating dark black energy. I watched him quietly for a few seconds, got up, turned on the light, dug a tube of ointment from the drawer. Some of the merman's wounds seemed healable, others could not. Especially the black, ulcerated patches where scales had fallen, resembling chemically mutated fish I'd seen as a child. I held him carefully and applied the ointment. Still hurts? Marvin's misty eyes looked at me. After a moment, he said, no, it doesn't hurt anymore. His side pressed against my neck. The black aura around him dissipated like smoke. Danmaku was stunned again. He actually stopped the Merman King from going dark. I'm shouting. No way. No wonder there's ointment in this little cabin. Previous players overlooked its use. This streamer's actually skilled. Guys, I'm staying tuned. 17. The next day, bright daylight, I sat up in bed. A pile of small pearls lay beside me. Marvin was nowhere in sight. System, player Morgan. Pollution value increased to 7%. Current dungeon progress is over halfway. Initial players, 100. Surviving players, 38. Please activate the main quest as soon as possible. After the system announced the remaining players, someone approached me. A red-haired, wild-looking guy with a defiant expression. Hey, want to join the Azure Dragon Guild? Hand over your personal weapon and we'll guarantee you survive to the end. I politely declined, no thanks. As I moved to close the door, the red-haired guy blocked it. Don't be so stubborn. See this? He held a blue crystal. This was cut from a merman after killing it. Eat it, and it lowers pollution. Honestly, we've figured out the dungeon's main quest. If you don't join us, you're now an enemy of our red family. I didn't understand his excitement. I kindly used my skill to push him away. Just so you know, my skill is the strongest fire. What the hell is this? The construction wasn't finished. The redhead and his gang spread their wings and flew into the sky. I had no interest in enjoying that scene. I started following the coastline, searching for Marvin. 18. Holding him all night raised my points by 5. The Merman King effect worked well. Too bad I had no idea where he had gone. I couldn't find him. I thought he wouldn't show up again today. But that night, half asleep and half awake, I opened my eyes to see him pressed against me, squirming, face flushed, breathing rapid, more restless than yesterday. Help me, I can't hold back. I calmly got out of bed and carried him into a wooden tub. Soak in cold water, I said. Marvin clung to me, stubborn, red-eyed and pleading. I don't want water, I want you. I carried him back. No, the merman nearly cried, rolling on the floor in frustration. He twisted and begged, but I stayed unmoved. I had the mental stamina to resist him. Eventually, Marvin had no choice but to sit miserably in the tub, shedding small pearls. I paused and caught them with a bowl. Marvin, every tear of the Merman King was unusually beautiful. I watched with mild curiosity. You won't help me, and you won't tell me your name. You're a bad human, he said softly. I realized I hadn't said it yet. Morgan, I said. Morgan. Marvin whispered the name, lowered his eyes, a soft laugh escaping his throat. A sudden unease ran through me. As I was about to stand, Marvin looked up, his deep blue eyes glowing. I had been careless. 19. The next morning, I looked at Marvin, his eyelids swollen and his body bruised. I calmly lit a cigarette, mostly because after decades without intimacy, it felt so good. So all night I hadn't stopped, leaving him a little worse for wear. Awake, I said, stubbing out the cigarette, eyes on him. I started contemplating the responsibility of taking care of a merman. He frowned and slowly opened his eyes. His silver blue tail flicked, instinctively curling around me. I stepped back to avoid him. Seeing this, Marvin's expression stiffened briefly. He sat up angrily but pulled a muscle somewhere, letting out a sharp ugh. Hurts, so much. I paused and tossed him the ointment. Marvin's eyes were red as he hunched over to inspect. You made me like this. My scales are all gone here. Oh, I didn't indulge guilt. Apply it yourself. Marvin's face darkened. He tossed the ointment at my feet. I picked it up, approached, lifted his chin. Forgot what you did last night? Marvin raised an eyebrow. So what? You enjoyed it too, didn't you? He closed his eyes. I sat down and applied the ointment. Marvin's eyes narrowed slightly, his expression content. Even though you were rough last night, I liked it. Oh, can we do this again? No, why not? No reason. I finished quickly. I'm leaving, you can leave when you're ready. The main quest updated. I wanted to check it out, confirm some suspicions. Marvin looked at me putting on clothes and leaving, anxiously asking, when will you be back? I didn't answer, walking away without looking back. 20. After visiting the canned fish factory last time, this time we toured the underwater oil extraction site. Diana explained carefully, but I didn't pay much attention. My gaze was caught by the slick of oil covering the sea. Slightly distracted. Finally, Diana clapped her hands. To celebrate our cooperation, let's enjoy dinner together. As expected, it was seafood. One side of the table had oddly colored, stinky fish and rotten shrimp. The other side had pristine, fatty fish fins. The players looked at each other, hesitant to eat first. Why isn't anyone eating? Diana, seated at the head, frowned. Have you decided against cooperating with Leoli Town? I skipped the fins, picked up a piece of the stinky fish, and ate it. Chewed slowly, not bad, tasted like canned herring. Then I finished the whole fish without changing expression, seeing I was fine. Other players slowly chose the rotten fish and shrimp, pinching their noses to eat a few bites. Those who picked the fins couldn't stop, devouring them as fast as possible. They stuffed them in greedily, chewing with rapt expressions. Delicious, until their mouths cracked, skin began to rot. Eventually, They were transformed into piles of rotten flesh, still in eating postures. Ah, Diana said regretfully, so these players were also contaminated, what a pity. The corpses were quickly cleaned up. After dinner, Diana announced, in 3 days, Lioli Town will hold a ritual to hunt mermen. I hope all of you will participate. After all, if we don't eliminate the pollution source, we cannot maximize profit. This is all for our safety and mutual benefit. System, ding. Main quest activated. 21. Back at the cabin. My stomach churned. I vomited everything I had eaten. Afterward, I had no appetite. Marvin watched me for 2 days, then disappeared for half a day. When he returned, he brought back a small pile of seashells, tossing them on the sand. Morgan, eat. I picked one and opened it. The meat was fresh and sweet, not like the local sea creatures. I asked, where did you get these? Deep in Lioli Bay, the merman habitat, 260 nautical miles from here. So every day he had to swim that far to reach me. I couldn't help but laugh. Good doggy fish, I said. Marvin stared blankly at me in the water. I realized I had just smiled. 22. Is that the king's mate? That's the king's mate. He's really handsome. Yes, so handsome. Marvin's kin peeked at me from behind the rocks. I raised a hand to my face, momentarily caught off guard. Suddenly, Marvin stretched up and kissed me. I like the way you smile. I scowled. Don't kiss randomly. Marvin defended himself confidently. A mate can kiss. In the human world, only marriage makes someone a mate. Marvin immediately said, then I'll marry you. I stared at him for a few seconds. He pressed his face into my palm, rubbing happily. At that moment, I felt a sudden pang of reluctance. I said, then go back to your habitat for now. Why? 3 days from now, I will sail to propose. That's human etiquette. Until then, you stay hidden underwater and do not come out. If you don't obey and ruin the ritual, I won't marry you. Marvin perked up excitedly. He lowered his head and kissed the back of my hand. I mark you as my king. From now on, the mists deep in Lioli Bay won't confuse you. You can enter merman territory. I'll wait for you to come marry me. Then Marvin dove into the depths, quickly disappearing with his kin. 3 days later, the ritual began. At the same time, a message arrived. The town mayor had died. 23. It turned out the mayor had long been bedridden with a severe illness caused by pollution. That's why only his daughter, Diana, had been appearing publicly. During the ritual, Diana wore a white floral headdress, her sorrow barely concealed. I fixed my gaze on the sapphire necklace at her neck, curious why she hadn't been affected by pollution. You carry the aura of the Merman King, said a sharp-eyed old priestess in ceremonial robes. You're connected to that creature. Yes, I admitted without hiding anything. I know where the merman habitat is. I can lead you there. Before departure, crates of explosives and firearms were loaded onto the ship. I didn't stop them. The mermen are dangerous. The more people, the better. Under my insistence, the number of ships kept increasing. Finally, almost all the town's young, able-bodied men were on board. Please, let us on the ship too. A dozen players knelt before the red-haired guy, begging, if we don't get merman crystals to reduce pollution, we'll die. We handed you our items. You promised our safety. The red-haired guy kicked one woman aside. You're lucky just being allowed on the ship. Want to compete for the crystals? Get lost. 24. It seemed most of these people had awakened defensive skills, which explained how they'd survived so long without much offensive power. I walked over and calmly said, those who have killed mermen, board the ship. Those who haven't, stay behind. At once, the women's faces went pale. They sat frozen on the ground. The red-haired guy gloated, see, the boss isn't letting you useless people come along. I turned without a word. Enough talk. Board the ship. 260 nautical miles later, after 7 hours of sailing, a sunlit, beautiful island gradually appeared in the distance. I stared at the pristine land. The system chimed. After investigation, you've chosen to help the townspeople hunt mermen. However, due to your extended stay in Lioli Town, you are uncontrollably contaminated. Ding. Task Phase 2 begins. All players on board rise to 90% contamination. Short-term increase continues and cannot be removed. Reminder, contamination continues to rise. Players must quickly eliminate the source. 25. Almost instantly, my body swelled and rotted. I lowered my eyes, rubbing my fingertips. Blue flesh fell away, intense pain shooting through me. It's starting. Previously, G-God nearly killed all mermen in the timed battle but still succumbed to contamination. Lioli Bay became a death trap. Can't wait to see what the streamer will do. The Merman King likes him. Will he use that? I went to the helm and asked the captain, "Can you see what's ahead?" The captain shook his head, "Nothing, just fog." Of course. Marvin's mark let me see the island, while everyone else was blinded by the mist. "I can see, give me the radio." I squeezed to the console, "From now on, follow my directions, turn right." The captain quickly turned the wheel right. "Accelerate forward, keep accelerating, let the other ships follow." "Not fast enough. Speed up." Danmaku was confused. "Wrong. The merman habitat is the other way, they're going completely the wrong direction. Stop. Ahead are reefs." "What is the streamer doing?" 26. Under my constant urging, the ships reached top speed. 3 minutes later, several loud crashes. All ships struck black reefs. The hulls were damaged and immediately began taking on water. NPCs panicked, jumping into the sea. Even with life jackets, they sank into the dark water. I calmly stepped onto the deck. The red-haired guy rushed at me, furious. "You're messing with us. Aren't you afraid of dying?" I said, "Not afraid." He tried to attack but suddenly panicked, clutching his head and screaming, "No, don't come. I don't want to die. I won't die." He hallucinated in the fog. Contamination skyrocketed past 100%, and his body exploded. More and more people fell. I too felt my strength waning, breathing becoming difficult. Player Morgan. Contamination continues rising, 92%, 93%, 94%, 95%. I walked to the bow, dropping a lighter. The gunpowder exploded behind me, a red blaze filling the sky. Born of the sea, dying by the sea. Not bad at all. 27. My body drifted with the waves. My consciousness slowly faded. I turned my head with effort, looking at the distant, homeland-like sanctuary. I wanted to reach it, but no matter how I stretched, I couldn't touch it. In the chaos, a pair of arms lifted me and swam quickly toward the island. "Don't die. Morgan, don't die." By the time Marvin brought me ashore, I could barely open my eyes. I only sensed him anxiously checking my injuries. Cool droplets fell on my face. It was the merman crying, "I won't let you die." I heard Marvin groan softly. Then his lips parted. A salty, bitter liquid flowed in. "Drink it." I blinked in realization. Marvin had cut his wrist. His blue blood was shocking, and he poured it all into my mouth. My pupils trembled. Before I could even process it, I heard the sound of ship propellers. "Don't worry about me, go, quickly." 28. I don't know how long I slept. When I woke, I was back in the town. Chaos surrounded me. The sky was gloomy, littered with merman corpses. I heard NPCs shouting, "Why did drinking the merman's blood not heal my rotting flesh? It must be only the Merman King's blood that works." I saw it. The ships ahead all died. Only this one was saved by the merman leader. The speaker ran frantically towards some place. I slowly stood and walked to the central ritual platform. There, a scene I would never forget unfolded. Marvin was tied to a wooden cross. Countless cruel people surrounded him, plunging knives repeatedly. "Let me drink first. My illness is worse. Let me get some blood first." Marvin's body was torn, hair and face smeared, splattered with blue blood. I stopped caring. I charged into the crowd with a knife, risking everything to save him. He was near death, his eyes clogged with blood. His voice was hoarse. I had to get close to hear. "You are my. I want to take you back to the sea." I understood. He wanted to take me back to the sea. All right. I lifted him and stepped down from the platform. The crowd blocked me, their expressions hostile. "He's a contamination source. He can't live. You're not allowed to take the contamination source away." I turned back, gently placing Marvin on the ground. "You've been fooling yourselves for too long. Don't mistake lies for truth. The real contamination source, isn't it you yourselves?" I slowly raised the blunt knife, pointing at the crowd. "The ugly mutations are the scars you inflicted on marine life. The filthy waters are your own overexploitation. From now on, I will return the sea to the sea and Lioli Bay to Lioli Bay." 29. The system chimed at the right moment. "Congratulations, player has activated the correct main quest. Countdown, 30 minutes. Player must eliminate town contamination to return the ocean heart to the sea." The dozen players who hadn't made it onto the ship heard this. They had been near death, waiting for it. Now, they picked up daggers and moved behind the crowd, ready to fight for their lives. At the same time, I used my wing sharing skill. "You bullied him for having no legs? I'll let you taste being hunted too. All surviving players, eliminate contamination sources." I flapped my wings and leapt into the air. The first scream marked the beginning. The blunt knife sliced through the air. Any NPC it struck exploded into black sludge. The stinking liquid splashed everywhere. But I kept moving, leaving devastation behind. The crowd scattered like ants, but for players with flight skills, they were nothing but moving targets. Soon, the entire town was nearly wiped out by me and the bloodlust-driven players. Only the last few dozen townsfolk remained. Then Diana appeared. "Stop, please. Stop killing." She knelt before me in desperation. "I'm willing to give the ocean heart." Hearing that, I landed and walked toward her. I extended my filthy hand. "Not give. Return." Diana trembled, pulling the necklace off, tears sliding down her face, sobs restrained. "Yes, return." She cupped the blue gem in her hands, holding it high toward me. At first, we only wanted more. In the end, we had nothing. 30. The moment I took the necklace, Diana's appearance rapidly deteriorated, like her father's, finally rotting into a corpse. I didn't look back. I returned to Marvin, putting the necklace on him. The ocean heart quickly merged with his body, and Marvin's form began to change. I lifted him. He weakly clutched me, sensing something. "Don't leave. I will sleep." "Don't leave." I hummed softly, saying nothing, just holding him quietly. We moved toward the sea. At the shore, I gently placed Marvin back in the water. The ocean spread out from his body, purifying itself. Ding! A burst of colors exploded before my eyes. Player Morgan successfully purified Lioli Bay. Dungeon cleared. 31. 1972. First North Atlantic garbage patch discovered. Plastic density now exceeds 200,000 pieces/km superscript 2. Pollution still expanding. 1985. Dead zone forms in the Gulf of Mexico. Deepwater Horizon spills 4.9 million barrels of oil. Marine life nearly wiped out. Pollution still expanding. 2010. Giant garbage patch discovered in the Indian Ocean. Industrial wastewater worsens pollution. Fisheries and coral reefs severely damaged. Pollution still expanding. If the sea is no longer blue, where can the fish escape? If the waves no longer sing, where will humanity find hope? Protecting the ocean is everyone's responsibility. Safeguarding the environment is every life's answer. I put away my blunt knife, silently watching the sea. I didn't interrupt the system. The dungeon settlement interface appeared. Player performance, SSS, dungeon completion, SSS, completion time, S, overall evaluation, SS, relevant rewards issued to inventory. Thank you for your efforts in Lioli Bay. The dungeon will remain open indefinitely for you. Choose, leave the game and receive one rebirth opportunity, or continue to gain more rewards. I answered, continue. 32. 2 months later, I had just finished a dungeon. I accessed the system and entered Lioli Bay. After a quick shower in the cabin, I put on a white short-sleeve shirt. Then I lay on the golden sand, basking in the sun and dozing. I didn't know when Marvin would wake. For 2 months, I would stay briefly and then leave. Besides searching for him, I had nothing else to do. I passed time running dungeons. Today was the same. I lay there until dusk, slowly getting up and brushing sand off. I prepared to return to the cabin's teleport point. The area was chaotic, filled with cries and shouts from men, women, and children. Waves pounded the sand. Tides surged. In the shallow, jelly-like water, a glimmer caught my eye. I climbed the rocks. The sea surface was scattered with pure white pearls. I bent to grab them, but was suddenly pulled underwater. Bubbles floated around me as fish swirled. Marvin clung to me beneath the waves, their scales reflecting silver-blue light. His tail fin floated like sheer fabric, long hair drifting. His deep blue eyes met mine, saying, "I'm back."